I know that recently a lot of my podcasts have been, alarmist in nature with regard to these extraterrestrial beings. However, that's just how I see it right now. I mean, maybe at some point I'll change my mind, but the facts show that something is afoot, and I don't think it's a good thing. And I know I talk about a lot of different sources, that I put forth, like David Jacobs, who wrote The Threat. It's a book I like to talk about a lot. And from his research into alien abductees and alien abductions in general, the aliens talk about something that they refer to as the change. Of course, this is passed on to abductees, telepathically somehow, but it's never described exactly what the change entails. There's a change coming soon. Now again, we're going back a while now. I mean, that book was written back in the late '90s, so a lot of his research was going on in the early to mid '90s on this with these abductees. But the change, if there's a change coming, what does that mean? Well, let's look at all the situation here. I mean, basically, we have this hybridization program. If that is in fact something that is really going on, and it seems to be, based on the evidence that's been gathered, based on the hypnotic regressions that a lot of these alien abductees have gone through, the information that comes out is that they're basically being abducted as part of this hybridization program. So what does all of this mean? Well, it could mean that this change that's coming at some point. I mean, you can only use your imagination because we just don't have enough. But let's think about this. Okay, if they're creating an army of hybrids, what's the purpose of that? Let's think about this. Okay, so apparently there are beings living among us. I mean. Filmmaker James Fox, he within the past year and a half, he was talking on Twitter. There, I saw a video. I know I talked about this in a podcast last year, earlier this year. I'm not sure when, but I know I talked about this before. That that he indicated that people, high up, had told him that that these beings are among us right now. Now he's saying he's not saying that he believes it for sure, but that's what he was told by people that you would be surprised would say something like that. So, and then if you consider the research conducted by people like Dr. David M. Jacobs, who looked into alien abduction and interviewed hundreds of abductees, they talk about a change coming. Okay, so let's think about this. So what does that mean? So are they colonizing this planet? And is there something going to happen at some point in the future, right, where these hybrids come into play? Like if they're say they're stationed out through all different aspects of the world, and they have the same sorts of abilities that the Greys and the tall Greys and the praying mantis type aliens seem to possess, the ability to basically shut people down and make them lose time and not even basically take their control away from them for a certain period of time. Do they have that ability? Apparently they do. A lot of research shows that they do. So say they're stationed all over the planet at different locations strategically. Okay, so does the great change mean that there's more of these beings coming? I recently I talk a lot about I have a source, an anonymous source. This person was an engineer with different government agencies, including the CIA and NASA. And I received an email yesterday, And in that email, it states, these creatures are really frightening, but I can understand that in comparison to other problems like a war with China or an economic collapse, their actions aren't all that significant at the moment. However, what bothers me is that when an explorer reports back to their home, he's talking about an explorer, an alien explorer, reports back to their home base that a favorable location has been found, more of that species usually follow. What if right now a huge armada containing 1,000 times as many of them is en route and will be arriving next year? The problem could very easily escalate to much larger proportions. Perhaps that's what was meant by something big is going to happen. And my source there is referring to, the assertions that were laid out by David Jacobs in The Threat, that there's something big is going to happen. There's going to be this big change. So you have these beings among us that look like us. The hybridization program, after decades and decades of it, so apparently they're able to finally reach a version of a hybrid that we couldn't tell the difference if they're alien or human. But just think, if they're among us and they have the same sort of abilities and and technology at their disposal that the Greys themselves have, well, that could mean that they're gearing up for something. And I point out, sometimes we see there's reports, every so often we get these reports where there's, many witnesses that see gigantic craft showing up, incredible sized ships flying, and lots of people see it. For instance, the 1997 Phoenix Lights incident. I mean, there was like 1,000, who knows how many people altogether, but let's say 1,000 people saw this thing. I think it was 2002, Stephenville, Texas. There was a sighting of a gigantic craft. So every now and then, is there a new load showing up? And they're just surveying their new abode. I pointed that out before. So let's say that is the case, and say there is more on the way. I mean, wouldn't this jibe with what a lot of scientists out there who scoff at the whole extraterrestrial hypothesis? They complain about the distances in space, that it would, it's just too much. And well, yeah, it would be. But if, again, they for some reason they can't get out of the box that in the future, these things might be possible. But say, they're right. Okay. So they say they're right. It does take a long time. Maybe that's what's going on. It's taking a long time for this whole thing to finally reach its conclusion. And that's because it takes a long time to travel through space. I mean, I know I just talked about this the other day, but okay, in 1947, it seems like all of a sudden there was a big influx of UFOs. People, nobody really, there were reported throughout the years, but nothing compared to 1947 and ever since, right? It seems like that's what's been going on. However, now we're seeing more and more of these craft showing up. I mean, they're basically bold and brash about it a lot of times. They don't care if anybody sees them. And but the one thing they do want to keep secret is the hybridization program. That's top secret in the world of the extraterrestrial visitors. But maybe that's what was going on since 47. They've been figuring out, okay, this planet looks good. Okay, we're gonna relocate here, and it's just taking all this time. It takes a long time. Can you imagine relocating an entire civilization? Like, say, for instance, we needed at some point in the future, humans advance where we could travel to different solar systems, and and by the say 1,000 years from now, 10,000 years from now, the planet is just becoming unlivable because of what we're doing right now, where we're just not taking care of it, and the climate just becomes unbearable for human beings, and we're basically resigned to living underneath the ground and to survive, or and we need to find somewhere else to go. So, how long would it take to basically move everyone off the planet? It would take a lot of, you would imagine it would take a lot of time, and maybe not everyone would want to leave, and maybe not everyone would be able to leave even if they did want to. But if you're going to try to relocate an entire civilization or close approximation of a civilization, it's going to take a long time. Decades, hundreds of years, maybe. Who knows? It would be a long term. It wouldn't be no 5-year plan. It'd be more like a 100-year plan or a 500-year plan. So maybe that's what's going on all this time. For the past 75 years, it's this long-term plan. And so when they do, when the big group does show up, when all of a sudden the armada, like my anonymous source has stated, shows up. Is that when we get to see what this plan, that we finally get to see it reach fruition? Basically, the hybrids do something. All of this has been in preparation for the big change. Okay, that these extraterrestrials seem to like to talk about. With their abductees, that they don't think and they don't think the abductees are going to remember this stuff and tell people. That's why their memories are always stripped away. So is that what's going on? And all these things that have been over the years, like going to different saucers showing up over Malmstrom, nuclear sites, shutting down missiles, and all other places. That's just okay. We're figuring out what we're going to do when the time for the change comes, because that would probably be the first thing that they're going to do. Shut down all the nuclear missile silos across the world. At the same time, that's what the plan would entail, I would guess. Shut down everything. Shut down all that's why it seems like it seems like the extraterrestrials, are always, checking out our military installations, flying around our fighters, flying around our Navy ships, right? Because they're scoping things out, they're preparing, right? So they shut it all. When the time comes for this change, the first thing they do is shut all that down. Then the second thing that they do, shut us down somehow, and who knows what that's going to entail? Get rid of us, who knows? Round us up like cattle. I don't know how that works, but maybe the hybrids have something to do with that. Maybe they're gonna be part of this. There'll be like you have the grays, and then the middlemen are going to be the hybrids. Okay. Again, this is just a theory. It doesn't make me right. It sounds like science fiction, and hopefully it is, right? But it could be science fact. It could be, because they're here. Okay, I know they're here. I don't know what they're up to. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know. It seems to me that it's not good for us. That's what it seems like based on all the data. But you see where this is going. I think there is. We should be alarmist a little bit. We need to start thinking about this a little bit, and maybe we could figure out how to stop it if, in fact, this is what is happening. And if this is true, and it is happening, and maybe that faction in the government, MJ-12, maybe they know a little bit more about this, and that's why they're keeping it quiet, because people would be afraid. But at the same time, I think we all need to know about this if it's true. Because I don't know if we would like this change. I don't know if the change would be good for the human race. It might be good for the aliens, but I don't think it's going to be good for us. Like say they want to just, push us away somewhere, get us out of the way, or maybe, who knows, use us for whatever they want, slaves, food. Who knows? Who knows what would be in store for us if this change entails them, basically taking full control of the planet. Actually, I do believe that they actually control us right now, because how could we can't stop them. We can't stop what they're doing. We just don't have the technology. But, one of the problems here is, again, like I talk about this all the time, is a lot of scientists just don't believe this. A lot of them just aren't on board with it. And I do blame the governments of the world for sitting on this and keeping everyone out of the loop, because the more minds that are studying this, it would be better. Yeah, the more people you have looking into something like this, trying to figure out what to do to avert the change, whatever that's going to be. It doesn't sound good for us. It would behoove us to have everyone in on this rather than just an elite group, because like I said before in a different podcast, the more minds, the better.